Did you know that before 1960, ASL was seen as inferior? In fact, some people called it monkey gestures. Now we know better. And after this video, you will too. ASL and English are completely different from each other, and I'm going to break down the difference into 10 points, maybe more. I'll expound on each one, I'll give you a quick example to make clear, and then I'll share if ASL students think it's a hard or easy concept to learn. That way, not only will you recognize the differences, but I hope it will help you identify the easy wins on your ASL journey. Number one is an obvious one. ASL is a visual and gestural language, while English is a spoken, auditory, and written language. And that's it. Example and expansion not really needed, but I'll explain more later. This concept is a big challenge for many ASL students, but not all, interestingly. I've noticed that if you're a visual thinker, a visual learner, signing visually is easy for you. If you're a kinesthetic learner, you learn through movement. Again, it's much easier for you. But if you're an auditory learner, you learn through sound, ASL may be a little tough for you. Number two, iconicity versus arbitrary meanings. So this means that ASL signs often look like their meaning. So if you see a new sign, you can often understand the meaning pretty easily. English is very different. Maybe you're reading and you come across this massive word and you have no idea what it means. And you've never seen it before. If you know Latin or Greek or maybe even some German, it can help you figure out the root of the word to guess the meaning. But with ASL, you can see the meaning in the actual sign. For example, the sign cook. It makes sense when you think of flipping hamburgers or pancakes. You can easily link the meaning to the sign in your mind. Number three, directional verbs. English is hard because each word needs the correct verb ending. For example, ing or ed or many other endings. ASL is easy with directional verbs, meaning I give you something. You give me something. She gives me something. I'm giving y'all something. They're giving me something. And they're giving each other things. So you can see that the verb goes different directions to show who is doing the giving. Now, you may struggle with this concept a little at the beginning. Are directional verbs easy or hard for most ASL students? Definitely easy. Once the concept clicks in your mind, it'll be simple for you from then on. You give to me. I'm going, I'm coming. I'll go to you, and then I'll go to her, and then I'm going to come back home. You use the visual space in front of you. Number four, pronouns and indexing. So pronouns is like you or me. And just so you know, pronouns are simple in ASL. They're not related to gender, being a man or a woman. They're just pointing. For example, you, me, he, she, they, we. See? Simple. So now indexing means what? For example, if I'm chatting with you and I'm talking about my mom, I could point to my right to say she. And when I refer to her throughout the conversation, I don't have to sign my mom, my mom, my mom, my mom every time. I just point to the same place on my right and use directional verbs. She let me know or she let you know. So you set up a place, an index for a certain person for that conversation. When indexing finally clicks for ASL students, they find it easy from that point on. They see it as simple and no longer a challenge. Number five, time marking. I love learning new languages, both signed and written. But I've noticed that some languages are super challenging when it comes to time. So for some languages, every verb changes depending on the time. Like, for example, ed in English means the past, or ing means now, it's currently happening, or verb endings for future occurrences. So just so you know, time in ASL is super easy. At the beginning of a conversation, you just set up a time marker. For example, you'd sign yesterday and then share what happened. Or you'd sign future, and that would apply to the rest of the conversation unless you set up a new time marker. You don't have to say, yesterday, my friend and I went finish go, and then we went finish go to the store, and then when we were finished, we came home. You don't have to say finish, finish, finish after every single verb. Just saying yesterday shows this happened in the past. That you went to the movie theater and you watched and you enjoyed a movie, and then you decided to go to a store and you bought way too much, and then you realized the time and you hurried home. So that's it. So are time markers easy or hard for ASL students? Well, it depends. ASL students like time markers because they're easy if you're signing yourself. It's easy to say at the beginning of a sentence, past or future, or already, or will. It's easy to do. But if you're trying to understand someone else who's signing time markers, you may find yourself saying, wait, when? In the past? In the future? So I think it's easy to sign yourself, but hard to comprehend someone else signing. Number 6, high context. So remember how I mentioned before that time marking is easy to sign, but hard to understand? ASL is what's called a high context language, and English is a low context language. And this means that if you want to join in on an ASL conversation and understand what's going on, you have to kind of arrive there at the beginning. Meaning, if you try to join a conversation that's already started, you might find it tough to understand. Why? Because they already set up time markers. They've already set up pronoun indexing, who all is being talked about. So to jump into a conversation is really tough. English is different. It's low context. Means if you join a conversation late, it's easier to understand because every verb shows the time. ED means that it happened in the past. Every time they say he or she, you know it's a man or a woman, which helps you piece together clues. And in English, they'll use names over and over again, like, and John said this, and John said that. So you can pick up easily who or what is being talked about. So that's the difference between high and low context languages. This is a hard concept for ASL students to learn, yes, but it's much harder for interpreters because if they miss something at the start, they spend the rest of the conversation trying to figure out who, when, how, why. Number 7, classifiers. And this is completely unique to ASL. There is no equivalent in English. Classifiers, signed CL, are used to describe, but this isn't charades. It's a sophisticated system of gestures that enable description. And this concept is super complicated. And if you want to learn more about them, I'm probably not the best teacher for this, but there are many good videos on YouTube about this topic. So you can Google classifiers to learn more. But in essence, classifiers are a complex, sophisticated system of gestures that show movement and relationships between items and people. So this hand shape is a classifier. You can show someone walking and jumping off a diving board, their legs fluttering as they hit the water. This is the sign for dance, but you can show what kind of dance, like break dancing and the moonwalk using classifiers. This classifier can show someone's eyes. You look around, blinking, rolling your eyes. This classifier can show a head, looking around like this. You can even make the head nod, or the head disappear below a table if someone's shy. It just disappears. And the head nodding is why the sign is yes. The sign for yes is this. That's why. Now you know. Another classifier can show feet like this. So walking nonchalantly, or stomping, or walking on high heels. Classifiers show movement and enable descriptions. Now, I have to be honest. Classifiers are a huge challenge for all ASL students. All of them. So take a deep breath, because if you're struggling with this, that's totally normal. You'll pick it up with time and practice. Number 8, simultaneous information. English is typically linear, which means that words stand alone and go in a specific order. ASL is different. So for this concept, I'm going to provide 2 examples. Now the sentence is the same, but the first example is in signed English, not ASL. meaning the words will be linear. The second example is pure ASL. So the first example is hard for me to sign, so I'm going to read it as I go. I was just driving along when suddenly a driver in another car pulled out in front of me and into the left turn lane to fly through the intersection. Whew. Honestly, it's super hard for me to sign English, but you get the point. So that was English and an English linear word order. This is that same sentence in ASL. That's it. I kept it extra simple and concise because I wanted to show you how different it looks to follow English word order versus how concise it is in ASL. You're showing all the same information, but how? Through facial expressions and classifiers. And that's all you need. And that concept, to let go of English word order, is really tough for ASL students. And it's tough for me when I'm filming because I know that those of you who are watching are probably ASL students. So my signing becomes more English to try and help you understand. But when I'm with deaf only, we just toss out English. So for ASL students, that concept of letting go of English and diving into pure ASL is hard. But when it finally happens, when it finally clicks, you finally disconnect from English, you'll feel so free. You won't feel hindered. You won't feel stuck by English word order. Number 9, ASL and English have very different grammar structures. So first, it's important to recognize that ASL has its own grammar and its own syntax. So the signing word order is unique from English. For new ASL students, this concept is tough. And I try to help them by saying, sign like Yoda, as if you're Yoda. And students like truth, I believe. Yes, like that. And I'm joking, but still, real ASL structure often looks like object, subject, and verb. It's a structure very similar to Japanese or Hungarian or other old languages. ASL also uses spatial and visual grammar. So you show grammar in ASL. You don't change words, you don't add endings like in English. You show the relationships using directional movements and showing visually the characters that are in that conversation. It's very visual, and that's a challenge for ASL students. Remember how I mentioned before that if you're a visual learner, this concept will be easy to pick up? And if you're a kinesthetic learner and you learn through movement, it's easy. But if you're an auditory learner, this may be a challenge. Yeah. Number 10, facial expressions. Both in English and ASL, facial expressions express emotions. But with ASL, it also conveys grammar. It shows meaning. So for example, this sign's meaning changes with facial expression. It can mean truth, or really, or are you sure? It can mean a lot of different English meanings. Another example, if I sign this with my eyebrows up, it's because, or eyebrows are down, it's why. It's exactly like Spanish, where porque means two things. Facial expressions change the meaning even when the sign is the same. Eyebrows down is why, eyebrows up is because. A lot of ASL programs and interpreting programs require acting classes for this reason. My friend's face is not expressive. She has a stone pharaoh face, and facial expressions were a huge challenge for her when she was learning ASL, but she kept working at it. And for her, facial expressions was the hardest part of learning ASL. But before you get discouraged, if you're like my friend, she's now one of the top interpreters, level 5 in the country. Just a stellar interpreter, but it was a challenging start. Number 11, role shifts. Now, in English, you'll typically say, my mom said, or he said, and then I said. But in ASL, if you're telling a story, you shift roles. For example, let's say you and I are chatting along and I say, oh, my mom is so ticked off at me. What on earth are you wearing? Oh, I bought it yesterday at the store. You are not wearing that to school. Ugh, Mom, all the kids are wearing them. Can you believe what my mom said? Ugh, my mom. So in ASL, typically you role shift when you're telling a story. And that role shifting shows who is talking. So is that hard or easy for ASL students? I'd say it's about half and half. Some assume roles easily and enjoy it. If you grew up doing any acting, you'll probably incorporate this easily into your signing. If you're nervous about assuming roles, this could be a challenge. And that's why some interpreting programs strongly recommend acting classes. Number 12, number systems. Numbers are very different between the two languages. There are only two systems in English. It's easy. Cardinal, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and ordinal, meaning first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Just two. That's it. ASL, on the other hand, has many. First is time. First, for example, is time. You sign from the wrist, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. For age, you'll sign from the chin, 1 year old, 2 years old, 3 years old. Days are like this. Weeks are like this. You also have in 1 week or in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, or 4 weeks ago. So there are a lot of time numbers. Another type of numbers is rank. For example, if you're running a race and you arrive first or second or third, you sign in different locations to show your rank. If you're in a building with multiple floors, you'd sign first floor, second floor, third floor like this. You show it by signing higher. Another type of number is measurement. So maybe you're tall, you're 6 foot something, so you'd show it that way. So there are many different ways to sign numbers in ASL, and most students see numbers as hard, which totally makes sense when you see that there's a ton compared to only 2 in English. Number 13, cultural context. So ASL is deeply rooted in the deaf community and deaf culture. English is rooted in what? Well, many communities use English, and many countries around the world use English. So it's not rooted in one community or one culture. So this makes ASL unique because the language is inherently the deaf communities. Thus, ASL includes a lot of cultural references, ASL isms, like train is gone, sorry. Or you mention a friend coming to visit, and while you're waiting, you see a light flash, which means your friend finally arrived and used the flashing doorbell. So cultural context is a challenge for ASL students because it requires you to be involved in the community for many years. But I promise, if you start now and get yourself involved in the community, go to deaf events, and show the community that you're here to stay, you're not just taking a look-see, you're not just learning their language and then I'm out of here. No, but you're showing them that you're here for the long haul and you want to take part in the community. We've now come to our very last one. English has always been recognized as a language. For ASL, this is a recent thing. In 1960, a man named William Stokey, he was a linguist, he researched and analyzed ASL to see if it was a real standalone language. And he recognized that it wasn't a form of English that was using hands, but it was its own language, separate of English. And he researched and published his findings, and that spread. And finally, the deaf community had proof to show that ASL is its own separate language. It's not monkey gestures, as was too often believed. It was proof that it was a real, full, complex language. And the community honored William Stokey by giving him a sign name. This one, referring to his big brain. They gave him the sign name to show their gratitude. So English and ASL are completely different, obviously. So if you're now feeling super motivated and want to learn more ASL, you can with InterSign University. And that's where teachers from around the world teach their individual sign languages, including ASL. So thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting by subscribing. Thank you so much. Iowa. Bye.